Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. I'm out of practice. Evening, everybody. It's been a while since we've done this. Out of practice, but it's good to be back. So, I'm with my brother and my dad, Gordon and Andy. How are you both?
We're good, thank you.
Well, yeah, all right, thanks. Yeah,
cool. So, I mean, there's not exactly a lack of things to talk about with Newcastle at the moment. So, we've got a lot to get through. I've actually put along the bottom all the things we're going to talk about tonight. So, I mean, the obvious place to start is last night and the 4-1 win over Everton. So, what were your thoughts? Brilliant.
I was waiting for Andrew to start.
No, you go for it.
Well, I mean, the result is just fantastic, and I've watched the highlights about 20 times today. And I've watched Isak's dribble up the wing so many times. It's been set to music in the last few hours, which I've showed to my visitors, Ross and Peter. They've quite enjoyed it. I mean, it's really funny because I was not watching the game, but I was following it on Twitter and obviously with you two on WhatsApp, but not with that, obviously watching any pictures. And it just seemed that the early part of the game was all Everton. It just seemed that's the way it was being reported. But then they didn't seem to create a lot.
Yeah,
and then,
I wouldn't. Just like my thoughts on this were, I'll put Liam's comment up. Evening, Liam. I think Liam has it right here personally. So we were poor in the first half. I think Twitter, if you're not watching the game, Twitter can make you feel like it's all doom and gloom.
Yeah,
we weren't very good. Our passing distribution was awful, but really Everton, they didn't really create much. They didn't have any really good chances. The one time Calvert-Lewin got through, I think it was Cher who just tackled him spot on, and that was kind of as dangerous as they got in terms of chances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, once I saw the first goal go in, midway through the half, wasn't it? Something like that. Then I thought, right, okay, we're all right here. And then, of course, there was the incident just before half-time when they got the ball in the net and it was disallowed. But then second half, I mean, you blinked and I missed a goal once we started scoring from Joe Linton onwards. And looking at the highlights, actually watching them, I mean, some of the football we played in the second half was just a delight. I mean, and actually, I'll tell you, the first goal in the first half, obviously, was such a sweeping move from one side of the pitch to the other, and then Joe Linton breaking with the ball. I mean, it was just a joy, and it was just tremendous. And
what do you think about, Andrew? You watched it, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was one of those ones where my default is always it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, that's just standard. We're so hardwired, aren't we?
Yeah. And we were sloppy. I think. I mean, in hindsight, I would look back at it and say they had clearly tried to play all their trump cards in that they had the fans outside the ground. If our fans had done stuff like that, we'd be thinking how mint we were. So I don't blame them for trying it because obviously, you want to. any advantage you can get. Nighttime game, everyone's had a few drinks. There's some smoke bombs going off. You know, I mean, our players cleverly took the bus to the other side of the ground. Apparently, and came in the other end. So
did they?
It was quite clever by Howe to make them avoid, because I think we would have got the bus kind of, you know, shaken probably. Because it's quite a tight ground to get in and out of. You remember?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very tight ground. I mean, just on a completely different thing, they were literally queuing to get in the tunnel at half time, which made me laugh. Like all the players had to queue to get, because the tunnel's so narrow at Goodison Park.
It's funny,
quite amusing.
So I kind of look back and think, well, you know, we what we did was we weathered and managed their storm a little bit. So, yeah, we were sloppy, but we were sloppy at Brentford in the first half.
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean, I was at the West Ham game as well, and we weren't brilliant, and we scored 2 goals, which were kind of gifts, really. And West Ham came back in that game. So I think it was just sort of, it's part of the thing that's happened.
I think apart from the Spurs game, which was obviously the extreme opposite of that, like the last handful of games, it has been a bit of a signature of our games. We've started them slowly.
I said to you at half time, I mean, like, what we need to do is make sure that we don't let them come out of the traps in the second half as well. And we just did that, really. And they're poor and they're lacking confidence, and we're not poor and we're full of confidence. Yeah. So ultimately, I think it's okay to have I mean, this is what was it, our 5th away game out of 7?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
which is mad, really. And we've only lost 1, so it's great.
I think Jack here makes a really good point. That we were awful in the first half. We were better in the second half, but actually, I think Everton's best 5 to 10 minute period actually came in the second half, even though we were better. But then, what I would say is Everton wore themselves out. They couldn't match us for fitness, and it got to 70 minutes, and they were knackered. Yeah. And we sent on our subs. We sent on Murphy and Isak and Byrne, and it completely that was the moment it clicked, and we changed. We just got on top of them.
And it's been the case for most of the games recently, where the players we've brought on have actually probably been better than the players we've taken off in various kind of combos. And so it just meant that, you know, you're sort of thinking, all right, they got to 60 minutes and, you know, they're having to make some changes. Then you think, oh, Isak's coming on. That must be quite deflating, because you know how ace he is.
I know. I mean, rolling Isak on after 70 minutes, it's just like, what a luxury. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of the guy. I just love him. But, like, we'll get on to his goal, and he's not his goal, his assist. Yeah. His non-assist, but assist, really, in a bit. But, yeah, like, it's just absolutely amazing to have a strong bench, Dad.
I think that's the thing there, wasn't it? That we've got this strength in a bit more strength in depth. I mean, we're not there totally, but certainly the options off the bench now are tremendous. And the players who can make a real difference to the outcome of matches. And it seems to me, whichever way he rotates it, you know, he's getting it right, isn't he? You know, because I mean, Wilson came on as sub in one of the games recently. We lose track, but you know, yesterday was Isak, and it doesn't really matter because Spurs, they make a difference. Yeah, Spurs.
Wilson came on at Spurs and scored within a minute.
Yeah, and it's just nice to be able to do that, isn't it? And bring in Murphy. I mean, I don't know if this is in the agenda, but Murphy is like the most. I mean, we talk about Joe Linton being the most improved player under Eddie Howe, but Jacob Murphy must now this season be that player.
Yeah, steady on.
Well, I think it's a genuine question, because I think I thought about just asking this question really at the moment.
Who's got the biggest mouth?
Like, yeah, well, I mean that the pictures were chosen deliberately. Like, but seriously, Murphy has come so good. He's come so good in the last couple of months. Like, he's genuinely warranting his starting place, and I think the fact that is even a sentence that I've uttered is frankly astonishing to me. Because we all thought Murphy was a championship player. We all thought he was limited. And Almiron, who's our second top scorer this season, scored some really vital goals. I think I'd put Murphy in ahead of him at the moment, genuinely.
I think there's an element where that is at the moment true, because Miggy's been injured. He looked a little off the pace last night. He's been back for a couple of games, but I think if you looked at Miggy early on the season was pretty irresistible with all those goals he was scoring as well. It's confidence again, isn't it? But I think the issue with both these players is that neither of them. I think we love them. They're kind of, they're Newcastle heroes, and they'll be remembered for being part of this team. But I don't think either of them are good. They're not our super quality players, and I think it's the fact that we've got other players around them that are so good now that they can play with a bit more freedom and confidence, because they've never lacked for effort. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, I get that. I think there's an element of truth in that. But what I do think also is that going forward, if we qualify for the Champions League, which is looking highly likely now, to be fair, we'll need a squad where players there won't be a first 11. There'll be a squad of players who will be asked to come in and do jobs in games, and whether that's coming off the bench, whether that's starting a game, we've now got more options than we had, and presumably in the summer we will add to those options, and that will give us some sort of strength going forward. I mean, everybody's thinking it's going to be really hard to cope with the Champions League or whatever we're in, but and you need a squad of players who are capable of doing what these players are doing now, and whether it's because of the players they've got around them that they're better, it doesn't really matter, does it? At the end of the day, they're producing performances which are really,
obviously the standard of the team has improved. So we have got a better level of play. We've got Pope, we've got Botman, we've got Bruno, we've got Isak. So the quality has improved in the team. So that will help. But the fact is, Murphy, for example, still has to go out and do what he does.
Yeah.
And he's been his performances have genuinely been fantastic recently. He's contributed. Obviously, he's chipped in with goals now, and but his all round. It's not just that. It's his all round performances, his contribution to the team, and trust him massively.
Yeah,
because
I was just going to say, Ian, I think the key in all this. I mean, we talk about him playing with better players, and that's true. But the biggest thing to Jacob Murphy, and probably to Almiron and to Joe Linton, is actually Eddie Howe, because he trusts them, he believes in it. And also, if they have a good game, they're not dropped. He never, if you play well and you win, and that's why there's not that many shocks in the team that when he doesn't change it, because he gives the players that confidence that you play well, and I'll pick you. And I think there's an element of that as well, that they're trusted to do the job.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. I think it's fantastic to see. Absolutely fantastic to see.
I agree. It's just brilliant. Obviously, the way the season's gone. I mean, obviously, we this is the first live stream we've done for quite a long time, almost a year. So it's been a while. So we never touched on all the games this season. But let's just. I know it was a week ago now, but the Spurs game. Let's just quickly talk through that. You were actually at the game, Dad. I unfortunately didn't make that one in the end, which was I'm now gutted about. But I'd watched it on telly and obviously just couldn't believe what was going on. I mean, what was it like in the ground?
Oh, it was just unbelievable. It really was. I mean, that word's been so used, hasn't it? I mean, I've been going since 1967, and I don't think I've ever known 20 minutes of football like that. And that's even though for the Keegan days. It was just, I mean, it was a disbelief when it was great we scored the first, and there was just the celebrations were fantastic. The second one went in after 5, and again it was, but when the third went in after 8 minutes, there was genuine disbelief. We were all sort of celebrating, smiling, and then shaking our heads and just saying, I can't believe this. And then it was just
well, Murphy did, didn't he? Murphy the 3-0 after less than 10 minutes.
Yes. And then, of course, because what happens generally, you start off fast, you maybe score a goal or two, and then you ease off. But the relentless pressure we put on Spurs last Sunday in that spell, and they you could see it physically. I mean, Trippier was instrumental in pushing them forward. We will just keep going here, and we'll give you good hiding because we're Tottenham were playing without any confidence, and we're being 3-0 down. So when we got the fourth and the fifth, and what was fantastic was every goal was earned by us.
I was just about to say that. I was about to say the first. I mean, even the sixth goal was decent, but the first 5 goals were all had their own merit. Like they were all genuinely good goals. There was no bad goal in that we scored. They were all excellent goals. And
I mean, if you go back to the very first one, which gets a little bit missed in all the sort of dwelling on the other ones, but actually Joe Linton's run again, the shot, and then but Murphy's finish, at that angle, if he'd hit it along the ground, it would have been saved. Yeah. But he was clever enough to, and I think he was talking about it afterwards.
Yeah, he mentioned that in his interview afterwards, didn't he? He said Howard sort of mentioned in training, like if you get a shot from a tight angle, hit it upwards.
Hit upwards.
And not low. And that makes sense, obviously, but it's not always something a player does, is it? So
no,
it's just amazing. Like I said, the only thing that is slightly comparable in terms of what it was when we beat Leicester on the last day of the season for promotion.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that comes close. We were 6-0 up at half time, but it felt
it was a very different. Yeah, it was a very different atmosphere. That was we already promoted. It was a celebration, wasn't it? It was sort of euphoria that day.
Yeah.
I remember the following season we went 3-0 up at home against Liverpool in half an hour. Andy Cole got a hat.
Yeah,
that's right.
We did,
didn't he?
That was euphoric as well. Yeah,
that was pretty brilliant.
I think that the difference last Sunday is we were playing Tottenham, who were 5th, and despite all the problems Spurs have got, this was on paper. It was going to be a really tough game. They've got good players.
We were nervous before the game, weren't we? As we usually are in these things. And I mean, yes, all the goals. You're going back to what you said about they were earned. I mean, the defending was abysmal. I mean, even on the first goal, they just let Gillinton run, and he just had so much space. And it was the same with his goal as well. Obviously, just the way he goes to pass the keeper.
Yeah.
But
I think, I mean, I was obviously nervous about the Spurs match, and we'll move on from it in a minute. But I was nervous about the Spurs match because obviously, they've got issues, but they're still a good side. The 5th, it's not that there's still no mugs really.
No.
Despite the turmoil that's going on there. But what
should I tell you the truth?
What I think, well, just hang on a sec. When I heard that the Spurs manager had changed their formation from 5 at the back to 4 at the back, I thought, brilliant. That never works. Every time that's happened with Newcastle when we've tried to change the system, it's always gone wrong. And I thought this could be in our favour. Now, I didn't think for 1 minute we would score 5 goals in 20 minutes, but I did feel more confident knowing that they were basically experimenting with a system. And I'm not being funny, but we're not the team to do that against this season. We're just
not at home.
No, it was suicidal. And actually, when the Spurs manager went back to his normal formation, Spurs were obviously better. The game was over. We weren't pushing quite as hard, but it was still more even. And I just wonder if he'd started with that, what kind of game we would have got. I think we probably still would have won, but it wouldn't have been that 20 minutes would never have happened.
It wouldn't have been that. No. I was just going to say, when Kane did score, you talk about all the negative thoughts going through your head. You suddenly start thinking, they scored. Don't let them score another, because if they get another, they could.
Well, I was watching it and tweeting, and I did put we need to not let them score again because we don't want them getting any momentum.
Happened last night. Yeah, happened last night as well.
It's how you think.
Yeah, when they scored, I text you, and I was like, "Oh God, here we go."
Yeah,
3-3.
If we can score 5 goals, then they can.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's years of indoctrinated. So
it's just Newcastle, isn't it? But I feel like just going back, you sort of mentioned it, Dad. Keegan and even Robson, how it feels very, very, very different under Howe. We've never had I don't feel like we've ever had a manager like Howe in the terms of we are so organised. We can defend properly. Now I know under Keegan we did have a good defensive record, but we were actually, because it's a bit of a myth that we didn't, but we did have a good defensive record, but it never felt like we were amazing defensively. Howe has got us set up so well. We are so organised. We are so hard to beat and break down. It's just unbelievable.
That comment from Geordie Jack there. Do you know what he's talking about?
5-5.
Yeah, it's a 5-5 at QPR, yeah.
And we were 4-0 up on the plastic pitch. I think Chris Waddle scored a hat-trick. And then we ended up 5-5.
That's a Newcastle thing. That's a Newcastle thing. But yeah, hopefully those days are over. Over now. But you always have that dread. You always have that fear that it's going to go wrong with Newcastle. Anyway, right. Just so last thing on the Tottenham match, Joe Willock obviously put in a fantastic assist for Isak's first goal, the fourth goal of the game, and Isak himself thought, you know what, I'll have a go at better in that. Last night against Everton, he technically it wasn't an assist. We sort of have to say that it wasn't actually given as his assist because it took a slight deflection.
Yeah.
So he wasn't credited with the assist. However, we all know it was his assist. So for you, which was better? What do you reckon?
This is like a Robbie Savage question, isn't it? Then you start arguing.
No, it's very. I mean, like, let's just say that neither of them are comparable. That's the thing. They're both, they're both superb bits of skill, but they're very different bits of skill.
Yeah.
But what I would say is this: Willock's pass was insanely good. I mean, probably one of the best. Given look at where he is, he's in his own half.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous. But what I would say is if Isak had scored the goal last night, it's goal of the season.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
And that's how good it is. So if he puts that ball in the net, he wins goal of the season.
I agree with that, Andrew. I mean, the pass from Willock, like you say, it is just incredible. The whole move was incredible because, and I know some people have commented, it reminded them of the semi-final against Burnley in '74 when there was 3 passes and it was in the Burnley net from one end to the other, and Terry Hibbert's half volley pass in a McDonald's path. That's ancient history, I know, but it was such a good goal, and I was watching it last week actually. But that Willock pass was absolutely incredible. And the thing about it is Isak took it in his stride, which he didn't have to break the stride he had, and his finish was absolutely clinical. I mean, it was just brilliant.
You just never you never doubt that Isak's going to hit the target, do you? He's class. The potential he has is just insane. Honestly, I think we've genuinely got a world-class player on our hands there.
Yeah, we have.
I think what I was saying earlier about it's making other players better. It's making, and so like when you've got someone like that doing the things they're doing, and I would start to say, I mean, like, who are the really class players we've got? Bruno, I mean, like the way he carried the ball last night before Wilson's goal. But then for Wilson to go and do that, I mean, Wilson is one of our class players, but he's not. He's a different type of striker to Isak. But at the same time, I mean, to put up, it's a great finish, isn't it? I mean, like we've got some contenders for goal of the month. We have to. What the hell is going to be our goal of the season this season? Like, look at what the choice we have. It's insane. Yeah,
like you could do one each month, and they're a genuine contender. It's just unbelievable.
Do you know what you were saying at the beginning? The last time we had one of these was the Ward Show last year, and I was driving back down the road from Craigside this afternoon, and I was thinking, if we were choosing a goal of the season or a player of the season, it's much more difficult this season to actually pick the one out, isn't it? Because you look at the things we've done this season.
Well, the thing is, when you're not very good, you generally tend to have you generally tend to have like one or two players who carry you and do things that none of the other players can. We've now got a team full of players who are playing at a very high level, doing a great job week in, week out. And it's like, how do you pick? How do you pick who is the player of the season? How do you pick
it's the goal of the
season when you're scoring absolute superb goals, different types of goals as well, week in, week out?
Do you know what's amazing? Early in the season, we said what will happen when Miggy's run comes to an end. Like, you had that purple patch in the autumn when he's scoring all those goals. And then you think, well, it'll dry up sooner or later, won't it? It'll happen. And we did have that dodgy spell in February, which culminated obviously in losing to Manchester United at Wembley and then Man City the week after. But then since then, we've picked it back up again, haven't we? Yeah. But it's not been Almiron doing it, although he did score the winner against Wolves, to be fair to him. It's been other players who've now then stepped up. Isak's come into form because he's fit. You've got Willock suddenly becoming a player that has got ability, which we knew, but is putting it into face.
We've never had 3 players hit double figures in a Premier League.
In the Premier League. I found that amazing when I saw that.
Yeah.
Like it's the first time ever, even under Keegan.
Yeah,
even under Keegan.
Because Keegan's goals came from out-and-out strikers.
Because the teams were built around those players.
Yes.
Keegan played to Andy Cole. Keegan played to Ferdinand.
It was Cole and Beardsley. It was Ferdinand and Shearer.
Yeah. That was it.
I'll tell you what, with Joe Willock, I was watching the highlights, and the 2 things that stood out was one, that volley that he had, which Pickford pushed around the post. Yeah. And then he created the Joe Linton's goal. Did he? Was it Willock's run?
Well,
the way he chipped that across, that's because of what Isak did with the 4th goal. Yeah. Like that assist from Willock has gone kind of under the radar because go back and watch it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
He cuts into the box. It's almost a bit like what Isak did, actually. It was not dissimilar. Maybe not as lengthy or as tight to the line, but he did a similar thing, and then he chipped it perfectly to Joe Linton.
There's a chance Joe Linton could hit double figures. He's got 8.
Yeah.
So
you've got 3
goals around. Well, you've got 4. If you've got 4 players on double figures, that's massive.
Yeah.
And the thing with us this season is we got castigated because the way we defended at Liverpool back in August. Then we had the Arsenal thing where Arteta, was mouthing off and that were terrible. What the anti-football brigade, and here we've got a team who have whacked in so many goals. We've scored 7
games.
7 games where
4 or more.
It's just incredible.
Yeah. It's not many teams do that.
And also, if you look at our stats, the number of corners we get in a game, the number of shots we have in a game compared to 18 months ago. I mean, it's beyond.
It's such a shame that we hit that period of the season around the League Cup final where we weren't winning games and we just dropped form and we weren't scoring enough. It just typically came at
just the wrong time.
I think if we played that final now, we'd win it.
Win it,
yeah. But it's just the way it goes, doesn't it? Man United were at their peak. We were having our dip.
Yeah.
And now we're flying, and they're still doing all right, but they've dipped. They have dipped.
Yeah, but they've got a trophy.
Yeah, exactly. And just go to Liam's point on here because I think this is worth a discussion. So he says Isak is being compared to Thierry Henry. Thoughts on that? I can see it. Genuine in the way he plays. I know it's not exactly like Henry, but there are lots of similarities.
Well, tall, lean, quick.
Yeah.
The finishing. Yeah.
He can play wide. He can play down the middle. He can.
Yeah. And of course, Henry could.
Yeah.
And exactly.
He ended up playing down the middle
Henry
all the time.
was a winger for France in '98.
Yeah. When he first went to Arsenal, he played on the wing. Yeah. And then he was just so good at finishing, he ended up just being an out-and-out forward. But
I get the similarities. The thing that impresses me about Isak, whether or not you compare him to Henry or not, is not only how good he is, but how he works for the team. There was an incident in the Tottenham match last Sunday when he was dispossessed just inside their half. He lost the ball, and we were winning 5-0 at the time. But he turned round and he sprinted back after the player and won the ball back.
Yeah,
and he comes across as a very cool character, doesn't he? He doesn't seem to get. He's not diving or rolling about all over the pitch.
I absolutely love him.
Certain other players, he's just amazing.
I love him,
and he runs like a
favorite player since Shearer.
How good does he run? I mean, it's just like he's like a gazelle. He's already rides over the ground.
Isak is already my favourite player since Shearer, without a doubt.
Since Shearer.
Yeah.
I thought you'd said something really stupid then, but okay.
No. Since Shearer. No, like genuinely, I love him, and I love the way he plays, and I think he's just going to continue being amazing because you just sometimes with players you can just tell.
Yeah.
And he is one of them. Just it's just mint. It's just ace. Yeah. So let's move on a little bit. So we've looking at where we're at then. So here's the table. If I get it up, here it is. So we are third, which is just unreal after 32 games. 62 points.
Doesn't seem like enough.
Well, 62 is not going to be enough, is it? But it's just amazing. Like, obviously, Man United have the game in hand, so we might slip to fourth. But I know you wanted to talk about this, Andrew, about sort of the permutations, if you like, the possibility of the top three, top four finish. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's that thing of kind of there's a lot of speculation about it now, and the players are starting to mention it. So Joelinton talked about we're aiming for big things. I think in his interview last night, Wilson's mentioned it a couple of times on the podcast he does, and the interview he did last night, without really naming it, and Howe won't name it. But of course, it is there. And I mean, I even just struck about, like, if you look at the form table from the last 5, I know the Villa game was so disappointing, but there's only Villa and Man City got better form than us in the whole league out of the last 5, which is quite something. Pretty impressive, really. But I mean, it's that thing of kind of trying to work out how many points are we going to need, because there's, I think 71 is usually 70 points is usually enough to get fourth place.
I've made this little graphic earlier just to
nice. There you go.
To put it into context. So we're currently on 62 points. The maximum points we could get if we won every game from here on out is 80.
80 points,
But if you look at the sort of orangey gold numbers on the other teams, so the only team who can get more than 81 points is obviously Man United.
Yeah.
But when you look at Spurs and Villa, they can get 69. Now Brighton could get 73, but they've got a hell of a lot of games to play.
And they've got to play 4 of the top 5.
Yeah, And then Liverpool, for me, Liverpool are actually the most dangerous potential one there, just because of their fixtures and the fact that they're on a bit of a roll. But I'm not convinced they'll get to 71 points.
Well, and the other thing there is like that's 9 points for us, and we'll have better goal difference, I would imagine. And so,
Liverpool's goal difference is pretty good. That's the other issue. So Liverpool actually have a very good...
Are we? Do you not see us getting 10 points? That for me is a question. Do we not get to 72? I think we do.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, here are our fixtures.
Yeah.
So obviously Southampton this week.
Yeah.
We've only got 2 away games.
Yeah.
So Leeds and Chelsea, both, in my opinion, winnable games. Not easy, especially Leeds, because they'll be fighting for their lives. Chelsea, I think that's the last game of the season, and I suspect they may well be on the beach at that point. So who knows? But I think we might be all right there this season. And then we've got Brighton, Leicester, and Arsenal. Now, for me, it's not... Obviously, you can never predict everything. But I feel like there's at least 3 wins in there, if not more. I really feel like just the way we're playing, we could
also
we went unbeaten between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's at least 3 wins in there, and I don't think we'll lose many of those games, the other ones either. So consequently, we will get 10 points, I think, from at least 10 points from the game.
We could still lose 2 games there.
Yeah.
And still get enough. And that's
the point you're making is, if you look at those fixtures for the other clubs, they're not going to win every single game they play.
If you go look at Liverpool's games, they've got... I mean, okay, Liverpool or Spurs will drop points there, and that's important. They've got to play Villa, and that's a hard one.
Yeah.
The other ones you look at and go, okay, but then they've been massively inconsistent, haven't they?
I think Brentford and Fulham could give Liverpool a good game. The only issue I've got with Liverpool is they're a bit like us. They've got lots of home games and not many away games.
Yeah.
And I do feel like if out of all those teams, but apart from Man United, out of Spurs, Villa, Liverpool, Brighton, Liverpool for me pose the most threat to us.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
Liverpool could win 6 out of 6.
Yeah, but
that would mean they've won 9 out of 9.
Yeah, I'm not sure they'll do that.
That's not likely.
I'm not sure they'll do that. If Spurs and Liverpool draw this weekend, it'll be amazing for us because really it just means we have to get to 70 points.
Yeah,
and probably less. Probably less. Actually.
Yeah, if Man U and Villa could draw, or even Man U beat Villa.
But the other issue, the other thing here is, people sort of forgetting that there's 2 spaces available.
Yes.
There's 3rd and 4th. It's not just we're not fighting over 1 space here.
Yeah.
So, like, the chances are, Man United as well. I think they will drop some points because they're just not.
Yes.
They're not.
Well, they dropped the point last night when they were 2-0 up, didn't they? And they dropped the point. Yeah, so.
Well, they're not going to win. I mean, if they win 7 out of 7, they'll finish 3rd with no problem, will they? I mean, that's the thing.
Well,
There's nothing anyone can do about it. But they're not. I don't think they'll get full points from those games.
And actually, if you look at Man United, they've got to play Brighton. So the maximum points Brighton can get and Manchester United can get will be differentiated by the fact that they play each other. So they cannot both get the maximum points.
Exactly.
So I think at the end of the day, the question is, can we win 3 games at least out of those games? And I think the answer is yes. I think we'll do it. I think it's in our hands. I think we can beat Southampton on Sunday. I'm not taking that for granted by any stretch of the imagination because I know again this in a sort of feeling that you're going to lose a game sometime. So,
and also let's not forget Southampton gave Arsenal a big scare.
They did
at the Emirates last week. So although they're bottom, they've still got some fight in them. And in the Premier League, literally anything can happen. And sometimes if you have an off day, you can just come unstuck. Now, I think our off days are a lot fewer and far between than they used to be because the way Howe prepares the team and the squad. And I don't think they won't take Southampton lightly. That's what I love about Eddie Howe, and I love about the way he sets us up.
The off day they had recently, we were dreadful at Villa, really dreadful. It was bad a performance as we put in, but then we responded. And that's been the thing, hasn't it? You say that. So even if, let's say we draw with Southampton at the weekend, we drew with Bournemouth, didn't we? You can get those results. You can have those days. I just think that, again, like you said, there's enough rotation in the squad. There's enough people fighting for each other.
And I tell you what, Arsenal will not be relishing coming up to St James's Park on a week's time.
No.
They will be. They remembered what happened at the end of last season, and they will be. Even if we don't win the game, if it's a draw, it's still in our favour, isn't it?
I have a bit of a theory about Arsenal actually. Now I've got a feeling that their form might just tail off quite a bit.
Yeah,
I feel like they're done. I just feel like mentally they've gone now because I think before the Man City game, they were obviously creaking, weren't they? But I feel like I know Man City were amazing, like they totally outplayed them. But I really, really feel like Arsenal were I think they'd accepted their fate before they even kicked the ball at the Etihad the other night. I think they're done. I really do. And
the converse there is that all the pressure is now off them.
I don't think it'll matter though. I think, it's just a theory I've got. It wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal just started dropping a few more points. I'm not saying they're obviously going to win most of their remaining games, but I just think
they're guaranteed second.
I don't think they are actually, but I think it's very unlikely.
Mathematically, they're not.
75, yeah. I mean,
they're going to probably finish second. I might be totally wrong. They might surprise us and somehow win the league still, but I just don't see it. I think they're done.
To be honest, I've said for months, I think Man City would win the league. They'll turn it up when they need to, and that's exactly what they've done. Man City will win this league. I think Arsenal. I agree with you, Ian. I think the last 4 games they've drawn 3, and then they've been battered at City on the other night. I don't think they're in the right place. They need the momentum with them to win the league at this time of the year, and we know all about that, don't we? And I think it's gone. And Man City are not going to let it go. There's no way.
They've got so much in their squad. It is ridiculous. Yeah. Even just looking back, I was looking at kind of points totals to win the league, and it's always been high. Actually, there's been very few seasons when it's been in the 70s to win the league. It's usually mid 80s upwards.
Yeah,
to win the league. But I mean, like say that Liverpool only did it by getting 99 points one year, and the year before they got 97.
Got 99.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, then when Liverpool won it, you mean?
Liverpool won it with 99 points. City were 98, I think, and the previous year Liverpool had 97 points and came second.
Yeah,
and you'd just be devastated, wouldn't you? I mean, like that's the thing. You kind of, you've had the best ever season you've ever had, and you still don't win the league.
Yeah,
it was on the Guardian podcast. It talked about it's like being just pursued by the Death Star. It's just like, they're just coming for you. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
unlimited resources really at their fingertips.
Yeah,
and I mean the other thing there is I don't think even us, in the sort of, the state-owned kind of world of, Gulf-owned football teams, I don't even think we're going to get to where they are in terms of the dominance, because
no,
I just think it's so stacked against it, because everyone's trying actively to stop that happening again.
Well, that kind of leads us on a little bit actually to a bit of breaking news earlier this evening. So it was announced that Newcastle have agreed, or it hasn't been announced, but it's been reported that Newcastle have finally agreed a new shirt sponsor for next season, to replace Fun 88, and it's going to be worth 25 million a season. Now, at the moment, we currently get about 5 million a year apparently from Fun 88, so it's quite a big jump up. And if you just look at the graphic on the screen, you can see where it puts us in terms of the other teams. So Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, their shirt sponsors worth 40 million a year.
Yeah.
West Ham is the next biggest, and Everton with 10 million, and it puts us right in that gap, underneath the so-called Big Six, but well above everybody else. And I feel like for a first sponsorship deal since the new owners have come in, I feel like that is pretty decent. It's quite a significant increase.
Do you know who it is?
I don't know who it is.
It's supposed to be the Saudi airline, Saudia.
Okay.
Which
it's not a surprise, is
it? That would figure, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think to that then?
I think it's good.
Well, it's cash, isn't it?
That's what we need.
Everyone has sponsors. I hate sponsors. I hate the fact that there's gambling companies, and I'm glad that they're going.
Yeah.
It's what it is, isn't it? The only sponsor I ever liked is when we had the Blue Star.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't look like a sponsor. It looked like part of the kit design. Or the beer mat. I like the beer mat one. So, we can't all be like Barcelona in the 90s where we had no sponsor. You need to do it. It's better. I mean, 25 million. Look, I looked at your graph there. I mean, actually, because they're having to be very careful, aren't they, about being perceived to be giving too much money, or having inflated deals. But if Tottenham, Chelsea, and Arsenal can have a £40 million one, why can't we?
Yeah. Well, it is daft, really, because obviously they've held us back, haven't they, with all these rules they've put in place about fair market and all that kind of stuff. But it is what it is. I think it's massive for the club because it increases revenues. And actually, I don't know quite how it works, but it will then give us scope to keep increasing that if we remain successful. So then we will get to that sort of level where we can increase it and justify it, because we'll have Champions League football and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're in the Champions League next year, maybe that's more as well. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I was reading earlier that if we get in the Champions League, it's guaranteed. It's something guaranteed £30 million, or something like that. In the 35 million pounds guaranteed. And then our league position finishing, if we finish third, I think it's like we're going to get another 30 million quid because we've been on TV for so many games this season, and then our league position will guarantee us another 18 million quid or something. So it's like the revenue is going to increase massively because of this deal, and presumably other commercial deals will be in the pipeline. So you can see how, with financial fair play and sticking to it, our budget and the way we can spend money is going to be able to increase. Oh yeah, I mean, we're getting ripped off at the moment anyway. Yeah, the whole funny thing anyway. That's the daft thing.
Yeah. I was reading an article the other day, and it was talking about we qualify for the Champions League, and it's looking likely, and the percentage is high, and it's even higher now after last night's win. But what the article was talking about is what we've got to make sure is that we actually don't make it a one-season wonder. So the pressure next season will actually be to qualify again.
I have to say, there's the thing that this season is the season to qualify because Liverpool and Chelsea have dropped off in a way that no one really saw, particularly Chelsea. And even Liverpool's form is, early on is really going to cost them, even if they do push on, and get a space. It's unlikely. And so this is the season to do it. But you're right. We are weak. The squad isn't ready for the Champions League. It's going to need 4 or 5 really good players to come in to add to the squad.
You say that though, Andrew. I'm not totally as down as that. I mean, we will need additional players.
It's realistic. The Champions League is definitely a better competition to play because it's not the Thursday nights like you get in the Europa League.
Yes, exactly.
And
I still maintain that's a big advantage. But I don't think we're not going to win the Champions League next season. That's not
what I'm saying, Dan. What I'm saying is next season, Chelsea will be back. Liverpool will be back. These are big clubs with big budgets.
Chelsea will. But
I don't think Chelsea will.
Well,
I think Chelsea.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
They're not going to be 11th. Chelsea will not finish 11th or 10th next year. If they get a good...
Okay.
We managed to turn around a really poor squad very quickly. Villa have done the same with good coaching. And if you get a good coach in and you've got a few... It can turn very quickly. Yeah. And I think people get... It's unrealistic to sort of... I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm just saying it will be very hard next year.
I agree, Andrew. Actually, I think we do need 4 or 5 players, Dad. Absolutely, we do.
I'm not saying we don't. What I'm saying is I don't think it'll be it'll be harder next season because we will on the champion if we're in the Champions League or any European competition. But better to be in the Champions League than not be in the Champions League. Is what I'm saying.
Take it where you can.
The challenge, obviously, the challenge is next season. Yeah. Look, if we just play the group stages in the Champions League next season, that's fine. But the key is, like you said, we have to qualify again in the league. We have to. Yeah. That's the key. If we can get back-to-back seasons in the Champions League, then we'll be flying. We'll be off. Yeah. But in order to do that, we have to improve the squad. Like, as much as we love all the players, there's still quite a few players in that squad that we need to get rid of. Yeah. And we need to replace them with players that aren't only just as good, but they need to be players that will fit in with the culture that Eddie Howe is.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading the article in the Athletic last week when it was saying the club have already got 3 plans drawn. Yeah. One for qualifying for the Champions League, one for qualifying for one of the lesser competitions, and one for not qualifying for Europe at all. Well, clearly we're going to qualify for some European competition. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And the likelihood is it will be Champions League. So, yes, you're right. We do need to improve the squad. I'm not saying that we don't, and that's what will naturally have to happen. But it doesn't need to be, as you said there, Ian, about the culture of the club and the way that we do things. The players coming in need to be bedded into that system, don't they? Or the thing can fall apart.
There's no doubt there will be. But if you remember the first window Howe had, he signed a lot of players because we needed them.
Yes.
I don't think anyone is saying we're going to go out and buy all the best players from all the best teams. We're not. They'll look carefully to bring on players they can develop. There'll be more players like Botman.
I think we've seen enough evidence to suggest that actually that isn't the way they're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited by it. I think
I am. But also, what I think as well, just to clarify the point further, just like what I think the 4 or 5 players we need to bring in, they're going to replace people like Matt Ritchie and players who aren't playing much but need to be moved on.
Yeah, we'll see.
So the players who are currently in the team and in the squad, okay, there's question marks over Saint-Maximin, possibly, whatever. There's a couple of players who have played quite a bit of football this year, where there might be a question mark over, but not many.
No.
The players who come in will be replacing not very good players who aren't playing much. And that's where you get the strength in there.
The only one that you said is surprising, we might get some good money from Axie. And there might be someone who comes in and says, we'll give you 40 million quid for him or something. You might go, yeah, that might work because you could replace him. But that would be sad. He's had a good, when he's played, he's been good this season.
Yeah.
He's looking more like a team player.
He might still be there, but he might still be there.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's. It was just an example, really, of He still stands out as potentially one of the ones who's had a lot of game time who might still go.
But you're right. I mean, Manquillo came on the other day, didn't he? And it's players like that you probably think, well, it might be their time to move on.
And actually, that's a really good example, Andrew, because Manquillo, it's not just that; it's the fact that Trippier is not getting any younger. No. And as much as I love Trippier, they'll need to get his replacement in. And I've got a feeling that they'll bring someone in as an understudy who will.
Well, they've brought in the kid from West Ham.
I was just about to say that they've got that. What's his name? Harrison.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He's playing in there you go. He's playing in the reserves at the moment. Harrison Ashby. But but they signed him in January, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
I think we'll see a bit more of him next season, without any doubt. I would have thought.
Because we've got what's his face? The other one who's injured, Swedish lad,
Kraft.
Right. Kraft, Emil Kraft. Yeah. So whether he comes back in, he's been injured for all season. So.
But again, it's just like. It's going to be really interesting what happens to the squad. But I've got the beauty of it is I've just got complete faith in the people running the club. Like you said, they've got 3 plans already. Yeah. Like this is mind blowing. Yeah. This is a club who 2 years ago didn't have any plan because it was Mike Ashley, and it'd be like, oh, it's transfer deadline week. Let's try and sign someone. Like it's just couldn't be any further from what we were 18 months, 2 years ago. Exactly. It's just mind blowing. How quickly they've been able to turn it around and run the club successfully.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think I've got. It's like when I go to a game, and I know for a fact we will be well prepared. We have a plan to play the opposition, and occasionally it goes wrong because we have an off day like we did at Villa. But they've been so rare, really, haven't they?
Every team has an off day,
and every team has an off day. But it's this. And the way we play, and watching, as I said earlier, the highlights, some of our football, the way we attack, it's just a joy to watch. I mean, it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Anti-football.
Yeah, right.
We play anti-football.
There's a reminder. I mean, like we are very lucky, I think, to have the manager we do. But I do think when you look at, I go back to my point about other teams improving, and it doesn't take as long as you think. That's the thing. The comment earlier about Chelsea haven't got a plan. Well, they're bringing in Pochettino, so that's probably some more of a plan than having no plan.
I think I know
coaches will do these things. Man City are brilliant, and they've got all the players and all the money, but they've got a bloody good coach. Yeah, that's the thing. Arteta's clearly no slouch, is he? He's got a tune out of them.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you've ever watched, just going back to Man City and Pep, it was quite interesting watching All or Nothing, the Man City version of that, because to me that was just completely eye-opening, and you'd get footage of meetings with Pep and his recruitment team, and you could see how thoroughly thought through it all was, and what I love about Newcastle now is I just know that is what is happening behind closed doors at Newcastle now. Yeah. We've got that structure in place. We've got the people who know what they're doing, who are properly qualified to do that recruitment job. And they'll be liaising with Howe every single week, every single day maybe. Yeah. They'll be having these meetings about targets, and they'll have a list of players as long as your arm, scouting.
And you can see where.
And do you know what it is? For all the players that you see linked in the press, and I just pay no attention to it.
I don't even
because there will be players who we have never heard of, ever seen, will suddenly become, in our squad. And that's what's happened over the last couple of 2 or 3 years. There's players you never heard of.
We don't follow European football, do we?
Yeah, well, I quite often say on this channel, because quite often on these live streams, people ask me about, this player and that player, or who we're going to. I never make videos about transfers because my knowledge of European football is I don't care about it, to be honest. I'm not bothered.
I'd never seen Sven Botman play. I'd never seen Bruno play.
I've never seen Isak play.
No, never heard.
To be fair,
it's not that I hadn't heard of some of them, but it's just. I just don't care about watching.
But we're not signing players you've heard of yet.
No,
we haven't. We didn't sign Haaland. You know, everyone uses
exactly,
Haaland clause. You know what I mean? We're not signing, you know, players from Paris Saint-Germain.
And if you look at some of the players in my team now, look at Fabian Schär. How much did he cost? And that was under the Ashley era. I mean,
£3 million, wasn't he?
That was.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about pound. People talk about Rob Lee being pound for pound the best signing Newcastle ever made. Fabian Schär is pushing him close. I think now he's on the way he's going.
Yeah,
he's so classy, man. What a
that goal that he scored last night. That was
it was such a shame. It was disallowed, wasn't it?
What a goal!
I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed at Burn.
I mean, Schär started the season.
Did you see that Schär put on social media? He said he had like a small dig at Dan Burn, like something about like we'll take 4-1, but like he tagged Dan Burn in or whatever. But, anyway, but
I mean, Fabian Schär got the first goal of the season, didn't he, against Forest when we were struggling to get the breakthrough?
That's a good memory, that Dad, because
it was sharp.
That'll be
he's rocket into the top corner.
It was his identical goal, wasn't it, to the other one?
It was, the one.
Oh, was it that one? Was that our first goal of the season?
Yeah.
That was a mint goal. Yeah,
didn't it? Yeah,
I love him. I just love him. I just love this squad, though. I just like they're genuinely easy to like, aren't they? They're just great.
I tell you what it is. There's not a game goes by, and I don't know if it happened last night, maybe not, that Fabian Schär doesn't get a head injury or he's injured at some point during the game. And then he makes a miraculous recovery
well,
back in the next game.
We all thought he was going to miss the Everton game, didn't we? Like, we talked with Lascelles coming in and people saying, well, maybe against Everton, Lascelles would be a good actually, and all. But obviously, it didn't matter. Just a quick point, actually, about the defence. Obviously, Targett played last night, left back. He came in for Burn. Just a bit of rotation. I fully expect Burn to be back in the team again.
Yeah, I do as well.
But for me, Targett actually... You can't. I don't want to be casting like just saying like, oh, he's no good. He's not played much football for a long time, so you can't blame him for being a bit rusty. But there was one moment in the first half. I think it was it the second half. There was one moment in the game anyway where the Everton player just completely outpaced him. Yeah, and I sort of forgot actually that he's not the quickest fullback.
But neither is Burn.
Yeah, but then Burn never gets caught out in the way that Targett.
Yeah, but the thing with Burn is he's got 7-foot long legs. Yeah. And he just intercepts so much.
His positioning,
or he heads it. Yeah, the ball doesn't go beyond him that much. So he's just a different beast altogether.
Yeah, but I think there's been a bit of criticism of Burn and not being a left back, and he's had a few games where he's not covered himself in glory the whole time. But I feel like he's part of the defense that is still the best in the league this season.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's done a bloody good job, you know? Like he really has. Anyway, I just thought I'd raise that. Geordie Jack's saying, Targett had a solid game. I do agree. I'm not having a dig at Targett actually. I'm just saying, like, people. My point was people have been having a go at Burn, but actually Targett isn't perfect, if that makes sense. Either.
No, well, clearly he's not. And the other thing is with Targett is that it's the first start he's had.
I know, and I don't want to make too many.
No. I think it's the point I would make is actually, sometimes the players need a bit of critique, and we get the league. I mean, the League Cup final, I thought Burn was shown up a little bit. He was tired. And there was a lot of emotion going on, as all that, as ever follows us on these occasions. But he was, it was Anthony did him on the wing quite a bit that day. Rashford had him, and that happens against good players. Of course, it does. Yeah. But against that thing of if we're building the squad, I can see a left back coming in the summer.
100%. It wouldn't surprise me if we bought a left back.
Yeah. I love that.
And then the question for Burn is, does he drop back and just become more of a rotational squad player next season?
Well, the other thing about Dan Burn is if we're talking about Trippier getting on, I mean, Dan Burn's a similar age, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And Dan
so
Burn...
you need to be bringing in younger players.
I can see Lascelles going. I can see Lascelles being moved on because you'll want to play.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, I think there's a big influence in that dressing room with Lascelles still. I think...
Yeah, but I
don't think Howe's sentimental like that, Dad. I think.
But there was a comment from him the other day. He said he was talking about this squad will evolve rather than and I still.
I know.
I just think
Dad. No.
If he's still there next season, I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'll say.
If he's there next season, I wouldn't be bothered. But
that's the thing, yeah. Fine, if he stays, he stays. I'm not desperate for him to leave, but if I was a professional footballer, I wouldn't want to be wasting all my time not playing games.
But lots of players do that, Andrew, in the modern age, unfortunately. Lots of players do that.
I don't think Lascelles is like that necessarily, though.
He's done it for the last 2 years, really, hasn't he?
He's had to, hasn't he? But and he's been lucky that we've not really had injuries.
I know, but it's true. It's not, you know.
Dad, I would hazard a guess he will be moved on, and Byrne might, like you say, rotate into that kind of, because Byrne is a centre half. So Byrne was
I suspect my opinion, for what it's worth, is I think we'll have Cher, Botman, Byrne, plus one other new person as our 4 main centre backs next season.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. I just think Lascelles isn't in that picture now. Maybe he will still be around. Like, maybe he will, and we'll still have another new centre back. But I fully expect us to bring another centre back in.
I know, but we said Matt Ritchie wouldn't be here now, did we? You know, and he's still there, coming on the pitch with 2 minutes to go.
I think there's a limit to what they could have done in the transfer windows they've had so far.
Exactly. Just list all the midfielders that are ahead of Matt Ritchie in the team, Dad. There's at least 6. You know, he's not exactly top of the list, is he?
Hey, Ritchie got some minutes the other week. Richie came on in one of the games, didn't he? I was like, what?
Yeah.
Well, he's house mate, isn't he?
Getting minutes.
Yeah. Gets his little appearance bonus.
Yeah. I love him. I love that guy. Did you watch the coin and the coin challenge in the fork the other day?
Oh yeah, that was
on Newcastle TV.
No.
Yeah. You need to go and watch it if you've not seen it, because it's pretty cool.
Go and watch it, Andrew.
It's very funny. And Matt Ritchie is quality at rolling a coin into a fork. It's so funny. Like, he's so competitive.
School playground hustle.
But it's such a good little video, and like, you've got Botman posing at the camera, and you've got, I don't know, it's just brilliant. It's just a really fun 3 minute.
There's one of them playing ping pong with a football. They've got table tennis.
Yeah,
they're slow.
Training ground.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah,
they've do volleys on it.
Yeah. Also, since the last time we did a live stream, obviously lots of things have happened. Of course, the other week, Staveley announced that they're going to invest in the training ground or build a new one, essentially, which is good news. And they've called in architects to look at St James's Park. So, what do you think about that?
Expect the Gallagher to grow.
Yeah.
Soon, I would imagine.
Yeah. I'd rather stay at St James as a move.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're looking to do.
That's what they want to do.
St James's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think they'll find a way. Somebody was talking about this a few weeks ago about, with modern sort of techniques, that they'll be able to rebuild the East Stand in a different way, which even allowing for the fact of the Leazes terrace behind.
I heard about that. Possibly, so it's got the same footprint, but possibly like tiered, so that there's more seats.
Yeah,
really steep.
Knock it down and
terrifyingly steep.
Imagine if it was as high as the Leazes, but still as wide as it is, still as deep as it is now.
Have you been on a level 7?
Yeah, I've been up there.
Yeah, I've been up there.
Makes me sick, I tell you.
Yeah. Have you seen the photos of Seville's ground?
No.
Sevilla. Last week when Man United played them, I've seen them before, but they went round again. Like, they're basically their seats are just. I think they're just plastic bits on the terraces, a bit like it was at Milan.
Yes.
And but like it's like a steep rake like that, and it's like if you score a goal and go a bit mad, you'd literally end up in the bottom tier.
Yeah,
it's frightening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people have fallen off the level at Wembley, haven't they? That happened in the Euro final. Yeah. That was a guy that I know was at the Euro final, and the England-Italy one, and someone fell off one of the tiers. Now we were at Wembley.
Just stick another tier on it.
Absolutely terrifying. Really terrifying.
Can you imagine? Imagine the comments you'd get. People
the other interesting thing about the ground is, of course, next season we're going to have safe standing in the Strawberry Corner.
Yeah.
Will that increase capacity, Dad? Will that increase the capacity, or will it be the same?
I'm not sure it will, you know. I know one of the lads up there.
They can only replace the seats with the same amount of standing.
Yeah.
Because it's safe standing.
Same,
but nonetheless,
same
it'll still be an interesting development because it's slightly different.
It'll
Isn't
just
it?
mean you've got a permanently stood lunatic corner.
Well, that area that had complaints
stand
made
up there
against
anyway.
people standing
It's the
during
ultras.
matches.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be the norm, so it'll be interesting anyway. But to go back to the stadium, we need more seats. We need a bigger capacity. There's just no doubt about it. So it's good to hear that they're doing something. And did we ever doubt that they would anyway? So
yes, because Mike Ashley sold off Strawberry Place, so it's quite good that we got that back. But
we got that back. Yeah,
that was quite unlikely. But what will adding another tier onto the Gallagher do?
I think they'll take it up to about 60,000, don't they? That's what.
Really as much as that.
So, well, with improvements around the ground, I mean, they're talking about 62,000 is what I read, but
that would be decent. I think honestly, if we can get somewhere to 62, 63, perfect.
Yeah.
West Ham have got 62.5 with their terrible stadium. Because it was the Olympic one, but that's one of the biggest in London, I think. But it's nowhere near as good as Spurs ground.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
Amazing, yeah. Right, before we go then, obviously we play Southampton tomorrow. Not tomorrow, this weekend, Sunday. 2 o'clock kickoff, I think. It's early
2 o'clock,
yeah. How do we see that one going?
Home win.
Well, I don't think it'll be 6-1.
3-0.
I think we'll win. I'm not going to predict the scoreline because it's just a case of let's see what happens. I think it'll be harder than we think because all games are, apart from Tottenham. But I think we'll win. I think we'll win.
I think we'll win 3-0.
Yeah, I was going to say 3-0. Feels like that seems about right. We'll see. I think we'll be all right. It'd be nice to get a clean sheet.
Well, I said this the other day. It's okay to get clean sheets when you're scoring 4 and 5 and 6, but when you're not, get a clean sheet. But I feel because I'd like Pope to get Golden Glove. As well.
Yeah, I think because obviously we've still got the best defense, but we have obviously leaked a few goals recently.
It was a stupid goal they scored last night, though, wasn't it? I mean, it was direct from the corner, wasn't it?
It was very poor, actually.
It was very poor.
It was poor. Anyway, I feel like we'll be all right, but
maybe 2-1 then.
No,
we'll see.
4-1.
Yeah, 4-1 again.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Why not? Three massive wins in a week. Let's go for it.
Johnny Jack there. Still got.
We've won 7 out our last 8 games, haven't we?
Exactly, Jack. That's how we still feel. We're not used to this. This has happened too quickly.
Probably lose 1-0.
And then we'll be panicking about being caught. Anyway,
it'll be fine.
Right. Lovely. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back. We'll do this again soon. It'll be a bit sooner than it was last time between the last 2 live streams.
We'll be back for the end of season awards again.
Absolutely. In a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
Okay. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.